It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. It is that time again. We'll be talking to Blake Sloan coming up in mere seconds. But in the meantime, I want to tell you how you can get in touch with Blake Sloan. You'll be hearing a lot of great information in the next 30 minutes. So call Blake at his office right here in Myrtle Beach. Phone number is 843-808-SOLD. That's for Sloan Realty Group. Blake Sloan, you can get him at 843-808-SOLD. Of course, you can go onto the website as well, which is blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. If you didn't get that contact info this time, don't fret, because we'll repeat it for you several times over the next 30 minutes. In the meantime, let's go ahead and bring him in for a brand new show. Here he is, Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Got an awesome show. A ton of brand new stuff we'll talk about. Obviously, again, this week our thoughts and prayers with everyone out there that experiencing the tragedy of the hurricane and also the floods. Some day a few minutes ago, the water is up to my back porch, and we got very lucky with that. We'll talk about that, but I really want to talk about too today is kind of what we're seeing in the real estate market, what the opinions people are. I've got that question a lot lately, and it's something that we've seen both sides. We've seen, some people here locally that are obviously going through a lot of things. We've already started getting offers on our listings from people who had homes that were damaged and they're not going back to it. We've had people who don't even have a clue that there's anything going on here. It's crazy, like that, from out of the area. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what to expect with our market going forward, because obviously there's 3 full weeks of almost gridlock and a lot of things. You couldn't even hardly get to the courthouse we had trouble getting deeds recorded to get to the courthouse. I mean, it's crazy, but we'll talk about what's going on in the market, what to expect, what to look for in that regard. We still have tons of people coming in town, which is great news. There's going to be a need for housing. We'll talk about that as well. We also have talk about the numbers from last month, kind of how they stack up, what to look for. We've had on our agenda here for the past 2 weeks some things I really wanted to get into in regards to home sales nationally, what they've been trending doing, and how that is going to affect us, because as I've talked about before, we can always project what's going to happen here based on what happens in some larger markets about 6 months ahead of us, and we're seeing that finally happen. We'll get some awesome brand new success stories. Our team's even been crushing it during this hurricane, which we're super proud of. Like I think I said last week, we put 2 under contract after it was evacuated, which is pretty cool. Right?
Yeah,
So
really.
that's super cool. We also, one thing too, we're hiring 2 new A players on our team to keep up. I've kept the pedal to the metal from a lead standpoint from buyers across the country, and I'm looking to add 2 A players to our team who want to level up their business and life. We'll talk about that in today's show as well.
All right, a lot of stuff to get to, as you've heard. If you're just tuning in for the very first time and you don't know who this Blake Sloan guy is, well, he's been called the real estate whiz kid. He's been featured all over the place: Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, and other national publications. On TV, you might have seen his face on NBC, or even with Fox and Friends in the morning show. The endorsements you hear on this very radio station from Sean Hannity, from Glenn Beck, Gary LaVox, also Barbara Corcoran. Put those all together, it's unprecedented, absolutely unprecedented. One of the other things that Blake has going for him is the trademark systems that he uses for buyers and sellers. They're trademarked. People cannot use them without his permission. Now, there are people around the country who know some of the secrets, but if you want to get in on the secrets, you got to be able to go and talk to Blake, and he'll tell you that the biggest number one part of the secrets comes down to one thing.
One thing, that's it. And we license these things out to other agents across the country, but it's proven and repeatable. It's kind of the thing. But like Dave mentioned, there's one single thing. The single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller comes down to one thing only. That's the agent you choose, period. Because it has to do with how they actually execute. Because a lot of people don't realize, they just think, list a house, put a for sale sign up, put an MLS, and that's really what most people do. But the reality is there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, guess what? That puts money in your pocket, property gets sold, and obviously you have success with that. You keep your hard-earned equity. Anything of those variables, any of the 118 are mishandled, aka the balls drop, that costs you money where it does not get sold. We see horror stories from other people at least 2 or 3 times a week where they left money on the table, it didn't get negotiated right, something was left off, whatever it may be. And so, for example, if a buyer calls off your property, there's no one there to answer that phone, or the agent's too busy to call them back. Guess what? That's an opportunity that's lost, right? And so what I did is we basically reverse engineered every single one of those variable points. You ever create a system that's proven repeatable that creates maximum leverage every single point? For example, back to that of answering the phone and calling people back. Guess what we did? We implemented inside sales. We have a person who all day, every day, guess what they do? Answer the phone, know about the property, very knowledgeable about the property, and their job is to sell that person on the benefits and obviously it being a great property and to book an appointment. So it doesn't matter if I'm filming this radio show, right, or recording it right now, somebody calls off of our for sale sign of the many ones, guess what happens? There's someone there to answer that phone and be able to help, make sure that every single variable is handled correctly. So we do, and that's just one of the 118. So what we did is we stacked them all up together. It's like a big thing of dominoes. And what happens is, right, each one creates a small gap, a small gap, a small gap. You add all those up, there's a massive difference between us and everyone else. It's just like we talk about all the time. It's like running a marathon, right? You take off the same exact time. Someone finished 2 and 3 hours ahead of time. It's the same exact thing that we do. But we have these every single variable all the way down to negotiation, how we use the data to be able to give our clients leverage. So we do that. It's called the guaranteed sold system. It's the only proven system that sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And for the buyer side, guess what? 100 plus different variables. They're almost similar, but they're usually the opposite, right? It's the same exact thing that stacks those up to give our client the ultimate competitive advantage when they're buying. Because the reality is, in our marketplace, the average agent sells 4 homes a year. So if we can be able to, put the data, the system in place, the average agent will throw their client in the bus in 2 seconds because they're just trying to eat, right? They're trying to pay rent. And unfortunately, that's what you see. And so what we do is called the unfair advantage home buying system, and basically gets you priority access to foreclosure, distress sales, desperate sellers, and more importantly, access to the absolute best negotiation through data, technology, both in the purchase process, also in the home inspection, and obviously the clear contract to close. And so both those give our clients huge competitive advantage. For example, on the buy side and the seller side, guess what? We have a VIP closing coordinator who, guess what their job is to do? Make sure every T is crossed, every I is dotted, every single deadline's hit, to make sure that every single thing is proactively handled to give you, aka the client, an advantage in that process. Where if you have one single person trying to do it, we talk about this all the time. The average agent, they operate like the same person at McDonald's doing the front register, their drive-through, and their French fries at the same time. They're trying to juggle all the balls, which is impossible in today's time. But in reality, 98% of agents operate the same way. And so we have a team and a system and a proven repeatable system that makes sure it gives you ultimate advantage. And so bottom line, it comes down to who you use, and more specifically, the exact system they have from A to Z, and that's what gives you a huge competitive advantage.
All right. A lot of stuff to get to coming up in just a minute. Maybe some of the most important numbers that you'll see and hear all weekend long. The interest rates, where are they right now? Also, it is really interesting to see what the real estate market is looking like right now. So we'll give you a real estate update as well to see what things are looking like along the Grand Strand. It's all coming your way in just a second. Call Blake if you have any questions about anything you're hearing here this morning. Phone number is 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com.
Hey, it's your friend Sean Hannity. Now, if you own property in Myrtle Beach, the national marketing plan of the realtor that you choose is absolutely critical. Now, that's exactly why you need to talk to Blake Sloan at Sloan Realty Group. Now, Blake has a marketing system on a whole different level than anyone else in Myrtle Beach. That's so effective at capturing local buyers from around the world that he can guarantee to sell your home at a price and a deadline that you agree to, or Blake's going to buy it. While most agents rely on yard signs and open houses that attract the occasional buyer, Blake attracts hundreds of buyers each month, which creates demand and helps your property sell fast and for top dollar. Now, that's why, on average, Blake sells a property every single day of the year and is ranked among the top 100 agents in the entire U.S. Now, working with Blake is risk-free. If you're not happy, Blake gives you the freedom to cancel your contract and pay nothing. So give Blake a call today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or just go online and see Blake's interview on NBC at blakesguarantee.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corcoran. To sell your home on time for the most money, you need a sharp agent with a marketing strategy that creates the most demand. Bottom line, you need a partner willing to put their own money on the line for you. In Myrtle Beach, I would hire Blake Sloan. His international marketing creates so much demand that if your home doesn't sell at a price and deadline you agree to, Blake will buy it. Partner with the agent I trust. Go online or call and get your home sold.
It's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Give him a call at his office at Sloan Realty Group. Blake's number is 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. Coming up next, interest rates. We'll see where things are going on your mortgages. Right now, let's find out what's going through the market right now with the real estate update. What are things looking like now?
All right, so it's kind of interesting to see what's going on here. We're going to have our new numbers out for next week's show, because we're just finishing up this month. But the one question I'm getting from everyone is like, what's happening in the market? What's going to happen in the market? Which is the question I was asking myself the minute this thing's hitting, because we still got, our machine is big and it runs, and we haven't pulled back at all, because we're able to do so. But the reality is, what we've seen is, almost a gridlock for a few weeks. And so we'll talk about this. A lot of local people are scared. People are not going to move in. The great news is, like I mentioned last week, is that our team's on the phone all day, every day. Even it's been a little, slow with people in town because they literally couldn't get in town, like for the roads. But we have people who came in town, they got blocked and went around, and we help them. We go online on Google and watch real time to figure out how to navigate them in, whatever it takes. And that's one thing that we kind of talk about with our team and our culture is like whatever it takes, kind of all hands on deck. But so the reality is we look back at historically, we had Hurricane Matthew. We talk about that. There's a huge drop in sales in 2016 from September to October, because it affects both, deals that are going to close that month, but also affects pending deals the next month. Because if something's shut down for a while, or people are scared of that hurricane during that time, guess what? They don't buy something, right? Or they're held. And so what happens? You saw a huge decline last year 2016 for October, and it jumps back up in November, December. And so you're seeing some of those closings come in later on with that, but that's just something that is going to rebound. The one interesting fact, and I talked about this with my team this past week in the very beginning, and just something that I felt and knew and have kind of seen before, is that look, you're going to start seeing people who are displaced looking to buy. We're going to have a lot less inventory, because here's the deal: we have some properties that are damaged, with water in them right now, this exact second. And so I was just reading online, I was talking to Dave. ABC News, a national article, are saying, hey, look, that spokeswoman Kelly Moore told ABC News that about 21,000 people, be displaced by this overall. So the bottom line is they're going to need somewhere to live. Right? If you look at the percentage of those homes that were in those neighborhoods, there's some that are for sale right now too, right? And so there's going to be even further shortage of inventory, which is helpful obviously for anybody thinking about selling. It's very fortunate when it happens, but we've also seen, I kind of called it this week like a storm fatigue, because people who are Matthew that had some water damage are saying, forget this, I'm done with this, second time. And there's another article, I don't know if y'all talk about on your show, but I think it's My Ori News, and it interviewed like 3 people, and they said we're done. I thought it was interesting to, we've talked to people before, even in Rosewood, that said they're not doing it again. I live on the waterway. Thankfully, I was high enough that it crested, but I mean, there's neighborhoods all to the south of me everywhere, just underwater. Emotionally, it takes a toll on everyone. It takes a toll on me. It's like I was saying this week to my team, it's like a slow turtle just coming to kill you. It feels like it's like you look out the window, it's a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, and we weren't sure if we were to move everything out, and so we got very, very lucky with that. But the reality is, it takes a very high emotional toll, and so there's gonna be a lot of people who are relocating from those areas. And so back to my point, guess what? We got our first offer on our listing this past Wednesday from an agent who said, hey, look, this is my clients. Their house is destroyed in the flood. They're making an offer on your property here now. And we got that property under contract to close. And so I'm sure we're going to see that happen, much more, where people either they emotionally don't want to deal with that again, or just like the article said. And so also the second part of that is we're going to see a shortage of inventory further. So it's good news for anybody potentially want to sell, right? I like to try to take any emotion out from a business standpoint. But the reality is you're going to be less inventory to choose from, which is going to be helpful coming into that late fall market. The reality is too, people moving out of there, so it's going to be an interesting dynamic of what happens, in my opinion, based on kind of where you're going to see people kind of migrate and move. The reality is we've had a lot of investors coming out the woodwork too to say, look, we're looking for investment properties, some to buy, rent, hold. They're okay with some area that may flood, and so we're going to see some interesting dynamics here. And so that's just something I wanted to recap for a lot of people we talked to, and really asked me like, oh man, is our market dead? No, I mean, it's still going now. We still got people in town right this second with the people on our team looking at properties from out of the area. Because here's the thing, they still want to be in Myrtle Beach. They still want to be a beach destination, and it's a lot better than being up north, in New Jersey when it's -2 outside. That's one of the quotes that somebody told me on the phone, that hey, we the winters up here are tough. We're ready to get down there and retire. And so I think that's something that's very important to look at. we should all understand. And so really quick into last month's numbers. Resale homes last month were down 5.2%. The good news is up over 5% for the year, but 547 homes sold last month for single family. New construction up 6.3% last month, which is interesting enough. We even ran into a builder who their whole neighborhood flooded, and they said, they're done. They're not building anymore there, right? Yeah. So there's be some interesting dynamic. You want someone who knows what they're talking about to help advise you through this, even if your house was flooded. That's something that we'll talk about in a second, where a lot of local officials are saying, hey, watch out for the crooks come out the woodwork. I think that licensed contractors who are reputable should help make sure it gets redone right, because that's something to watch out for. And we're here to help anybody with the people that we know as well. But new construction up 6.3% last month. The sales prices for homes was pretty much flat, right at 220,000, up 0.9% last month alone for resale homes. New construction prices up 6.6% at 258,224. And the one thing we're looking at too overall is inventory, and inventory is down 10.3%, and that's prior to any of these numbers right now that we're going to see, come from the potential flooding. Right, we're obviously going to be off the market for a while, but you're going to see entire neighborhoods, entire areas, that are going to be off the market as well, which is going to put more crunch on inventory. And so that's something to kind of watch and see what happens and how that compares with who buys. But the bottom line is, it is something that's going to be a big need for inventory. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. For condos, that's something that everybody's kind of been asking. Condo sales for resale condos up 4.3% last month with 533 sold. So if yours didn't sell, guess what? There's 533 that did. And so the reality is that comes down to the marketing, to making sure it's marketed correctly, priced correctly, things like that. Sales price for condos up 10.2% last month alone at 130,000 even. And month supply there down 9.1%. They're flat right at 5 months of inventory there as well. And so overall, we're seeing that same thing we've seen for months and months now, which has already started putting an effect on a little bit. Is that's across the country, is just less inventory. And so we're going to see that here, especially after the flooding. We're going to see a slight decline in buyers, but statistically, from what we found with calling thousands and thousands of buyers that we have in our database who are searching, there's maybe 1% that still said, hey, look, we're done. We're not going there from here, fear of a hurricane. I thought it would be a little bit higher than that. But what we talked about, and we just had 2 meetings on this week in my team, literally 1 out of 10 would say, well, we're not sure. We're kind of fearful, but I thought it'd be much higher than that. But the reality is they're still wanting to come here and find safe areas. So that's great news for everyone overall there as well. And one thing that's kind of driving this right now is interest rates. And remember last week we were at a 7-year high, 4.87% last week. The good news is we're at 4.80 this week, so we're down slightly, which is good. I think we're at the lowest it's been since September 17th. So a slight decline there. 15-year fixed rate 4.28%. A 30-year FHA 4.40%. A 30-year jumbo loan is 4.35%. Jumbo loans anything over 416,000. A 5-year adjust rate mortgage is at 3.97%. And so, as we talked about, this is kind of right in line with what everyone's talking about is going to happen. Q4 they're saying 4.8%. Guess what? We're right on the money with that. And Q1 2019 they're talking about 4.9, and they're saying average next year 5.1%. So we're going to cross that 5% mark, which is going to hinder a little bit of buyers out there because money is a little more expensive, right? And so that's something to keep watching in that regard. That's also kind of why you've seen a slowdown for the past 6 months in pending sales across the country. We have not seen that yet in that many months. I guess we had last month was slightly down, but we'll talk about that going forward and kind of what to look for. But overall, bottom line is, if you're thinking about selling, you need to get, in this fall market where buyers are still coming down, people are still looking, and there is a shortage of inventory. The reality is we need housing. And so those people who need housing. And so if you're thinking about that, it's a supply and demand business, right? And ultimately your home there, selling that comes down to business when you're talking about numbers. And so that's something you'll take advantage of. If you're thinking about selling, reach out and call me, 843-808-SOLD. Don't wait, don't hesitate. Just call us anytime, 843-808-SOLD for sure.
All right, well, that's the number to know, 843-808-SOLD. Coming up in just a minute on the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show, we'll be looking at a couple of other things, including your hot buyers alert and some great success stories that Blake needs to tell you about to let you know why you need to go with Blake Sloan and Sloan Realty Group. Again, the phone number 843-808-SOLD, or go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. You want your home sold on time and for the most money without all sorts of excuses?
Hi, it's Glenn Beck. And when I had to sell my home, I went through several agents who all had good ideas, but the bottom line is they couldn't get the job done. Well, you have a celebrity in your own town. If I lived in Myrtle Beach, no question, I would call Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty.
Cool.
Blake has a marketing system that reaches buyers from around the U.S. and around the world. And week after week, he attracts hundreds of buyers. And that creates incredible demand. And that's why he can guarantee to sell your home at a price and a deadline that you'll agree to, or he's going to buy it. Plus, you don't really risk anything when you list with Blake, since if he doesn't live up to the contract, you walk away free and clear. It's really no wonder why Sean Hannity and I, along with real estate tycoon and Shark Tank star Barbara Corcoran, endorse Blake. Call Blake Sloan right now. 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or visit Blake's website. That's blakesguarantee.com. blakesguarantee.com. Or listen to Blake's Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 or Sunday morning at 11:30 right here on WRNN.
The Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan coming up in just a minute. Some fantastic success stories. First of all, it's your hot buyers alert. Blake and his team working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers, and they're looking for homes in the Myrtle Beach area anywhere in the range between $150,000 to $3.5 million. If you were listening just 3 minutes ago, you heard Blake say how inventory is at a low right now, and they really, really need your home. If you're even thinking of selling, contact them immediately. 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD. How many people are looking for homes in the Myrtle Beach area? Lots. How many are lots? Just under 50,000 active home buyers on Blake Sloan's website. 49,991. What, you couldn't get that last 9 people to make it 50,000?
I know, right? I thought we definitely hit it. There's a little bit less searches going on, but we have not pulled the pedal off the metal at all. And it's been a scary few weeks for me as a business owner. That machine going in just being like, slow everywhere. I mean, it's been crazy, but I made that decision. Like, hey, we're not going to pull off. We're capitalized enough to do that, and that's something that I believe in. And the numbers is going to obviously. And I grew up here, right? There's a short fear of hurricanes there a little bit, and ultimately people see the lure of Myrtle Beach and it continue to come, right? And so our business model bets on that, and that's one thing that we just launched a news station recently, and it's one of those things that we just kept going with that. So the reality is, I think searches were down. Normally we'd be over 50,000 with that, but long story short, like Dave mentioned, these are real people. These are basically 49,991 people who have a username, password, account, and have logged online searching recently, and they're from all over the globe, most of which are the Northeast. And so what gives us a huge advantage is we have a huge web, and I kind of give this example all the time. Hey, if you're fishing, you could probably find a fish in a what do you call it, as a like a small, what do you call it, pothole, right? What do you call this little thing? Mud puddle, right? My brain just went crazy. A mud puddle, right? But if you have a huge lake, right, for example, a river, the fish are much bigger. It's the same thing where we have such a huge web. We market all the way down, from the North Carolina line, even in North Carolina, all the way down past Georgetown, all of Horry County, all of Georgetown County. And so we have people from all over the globe coming here, have a much bigger spin. We can drive much more buyers to the property. And that's something that's huge and helpful. A lot of people have these old school mentality, which is incorrect. And for some reason, especially the high end people, I hate to, kind of call you out there, but the reality, they go, I need my neighborhood specialist. Well, the reality is if somebody just spending marketing on your neighborhood, like you're missing out on 80% of the people online who are searching, because the people from New Jersey who just sold their house for $3 million may not know about your little neighborhood right there, and they're not going to be Googling that, right? And so the reality is you have a huge web, and our advantage is we have a massive team that all day, every day, we have specialists. And so they're on the phones all day, every day, following leads, nurturing them, helping them, serving them. And then we're able to match up our buyers and sellers. We even created software that reverse engineers the most likely buyer for your property based on a previous search history. It's crazy. It scores them down to a percentage of what the match is. And then we can basically send that to them, call them, text them that. And so it's something that gives a huge advantage. So if you're thinking about selling, reach out and call us. Don't make the mistake or the pain of going through somebody else first, because the worst case, what's even worse than not getting it sold is you selling it, leaving $10,000 on the table. And this happens all the time. And so that's something to watch out for as well. So bottom line, if you think about selling, we inventory. We talked about 21,000 people being displaced in this flooding thing here. Obviously, that's on top of not having that inventory, which is hitting both sides. So 21,000 people need new places, right? Their houses obviously can't be sold. And so there's also people continuing to come in from out of town. And so we're going to see more pressure here on these homes into this market, into the fall and winter market. And so it's going to be unique for us. It's going to be different because you're going to stack up some of that volume there as well. I have multiple coaches that I work with that help advised me, and we went through all the numbers, the previous storms, and we all found the same thing. As you always see a big bounce back in numbers after those months those storms hit. And I was talking to Dave about this a while back. Both 1,000-year flood, Hurricane Matthew, Irma, those three almost the same exact pattern. When you look at the line graph, huge drop, then back up in the line graph as well. And so that's something we're going to see here the same way. But this difference is a lot more people are displaced this time than before, which is going to put more strain on what's already a tight inventory for homes. And so if you're thinking about selling, if someone you walk into, come across, work with, family, relative, have them call us, 843-808 sold as well. And so one thing important, a couple of success stories, because we have a couple minutes left, right? Yeah. This is super cool here. I'm very proud of this one. Kathy, she had her house in Georgetown on the market multiple times with multiple different realtors without any success. Only frustration, disappointment. Here's the coolest part. She was referred to us by her friend who's a radio listener. We came in, identified the problem, purely marketing, implement our global marketing blitz, professional photos, had it under contract immediately. And here's the coolest part. She was so happy, she referred her friend to us who had a condo that needed to get sold, and we already got that on the market, which is super cool. And so big thanks to Kathy, and also big thanks to Kathy's friend. A lot of times people are scared to say, oh, so here's the deal. If you care about your friend, tell them to call somebody, because you don't want them going through, a huge painful situation like this with multiple agents. And again, I always say this, that we're not, selling Best Buy TVs. These are people's homes they live in and largest assets. And so it matters who you use more than anything. The stakes are much higher. Also really cool. Austin, she had her high-end home on the market with an average real estate agent for months. No action, zero success in getting it sold. Didn't have any showings at all. So basically it was on the market for almost 6 months without one single showing. So after being super frustrated, she referred to us by her friend who's also a listener. Immediately came in, we identified the problem, implemented our global marketing blitz, professional photos, massive traffic, had it under contract within a few weeks. Just closed on that as well, almost right at 400,000. And so the reality is we have the buyers from all over the globe that are in town. They're still coming in town, as Dave just mentioned earlier. Those of you like right now on the site, Ken, I can't even say his last name, Color Trio, Avondale, PA, Bob Muffinger, Westminster, Maryland, John Phillips, Surprise, Arizona, Mike Powers from Greenville, South Carolina, Gary Sample from Charleston, South Carolina, Becky Putnam from Inman, South Carolina. So you can see we're getting people all over the place. We have Donna Kaiser, local Myrtle's Inlet, Mario Flores from Holly Springs, and Deron Allen from Durham. And so the bottom line is we need inventory. We're thinking about selling. I know it sounds kind of like a broken record, but this is more intense than other. People need homes. And for example, this past Wednesday, we just got our first one under contract from someone who is displaced. They haven't even gotten back in their house yet, already trying to find something else. They're smart because as inventory gets less and less, right, there's going to be less to choose from. Just like the hotel rooms when people were evacuating, right? I looked in Jacksonville and it's like 300 people are looking at this property. I went to book it, gone, I'm like, holy cow. And so the reality of think about selling, reach out. Anybody you run into, friends, relatives, have them call me for sure.
All right, absolutely. Give Blake a call at 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. If you're looking to buy, if you're looking to sell, whatever you're looking to do, real estate-wise, he's the man to call. Blake, thanks so much. We'll do it again next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, it is the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Hey, Myrtle Beach, it's Gary LaVox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts.